Hello and welcome to the show. In case you haven't figured out, we are back to the regular questions for the podcast. But as usual, if anything interesting comes along and I need to make a detour, I will. And of course, I'll warn you guys along the way, and I'll always do my best to get back to the list of questions that we have for the show. Now, today's question is, how do you identify your sweet spot in business? Now, of course, this question assumes that there is such a thing as a sweet spot. So let's tackle that question first. Is there such a thing as a sweet spot? Some people say yes, some people say no. Now, let me pay attention to the naysayers. For people who say no, they just focus rather on ruthless execution. They think of themselves as business people, as operators. So in that case, any business will do, whether it is running a public toilet or running an advertising agency or baking cakes or whatever it is. I mean, for as far as they're concerned, it's all the same. It's a business. It's going to make money. Let's just figure it out, execute ruthlessly, and then that's it. So they are similar to employees who are in it for the paycheck. Now, I'm not someone who's going to trash folks like this. People who pay attention to the bottom line. So if you have one of your staff members or you know someone who's an employee for a paycheck, I don't think that's a problem, really. I mean, so long as everybody does their job. So if someone is a ruthless executor and they think of themselves as a business operative and it's just the bottom line, and whether it is selling rice or selling yams or selling engineering equipment or whatever, I mean, so long as they can do a good job at it ethically, and let's see what else. They just meet the usual moral, ethical, legal parameters. I really think there's no problem. Just like in the same way, all those employees who clock in at 9, clock out at 5, do exactly what they're supposed to do, even if they don't do anything more. I mean, so long as you can't fault them for the performance, I don't think that there's a problem. So those are people who are on the no end of the spectrum. So, in my own opinion, over here on the podcast, no judgment. So if you're one of those no people and as an employee, you're thinking purely about the paycheck, or when it comes to the business, you're thinking of yourself as an assassin. And so long as people point you in the target, you will do it. So if it is selling water, it's a water distribution business to different shopping centers in Abuja or in Lagos, you're going to do it. So wherever they point you, you go. If you're that kind of person, then no problem. But yeah, of course, it all rests on execution. So make sure that you wake up every day and you're a pure assassin and you are ruthless and you're faithful, and you should be fine. Now, for those people who are on the yes end of the spectrum, who worry about whether they're in the sweet spot, I would say they're closer to employees, people who work for organizations who are always thinking about purpose, always thinking about passion, and who are always thinking about personal fulfillment and those sorts of things. Now, in my own opinion, that's also not a problem, provided that you have an employee who comes in, he clocks in at 9, or she clocks in at 9. But if they clock in and they spend all their time with their day in the clouds and they don't do exactly what it is that they're supposed to do, or maybe they're all up in their fields and then that affects their performance, then I guess that is a problem. But you find that most people are neither fully in the yes camp or fully in the no camp. We're a mix of both. So yes, we should be operators, we should be assassins, we should ruthlessly execute, but then we should also be worried about personal purpose, passion, fulfillment, and all those things as sees fit. So if we're going to step down from the employee thing and focus squarely on business, and we're thinking about a sweet spot when it comes to business, then yes, there are several things that you can look at that will help you determine if you are in your sweet spot. By the way, before I continue, because you are not in the sweet spot, it doesn't mean that this can't be a profitable business that is going to serve you and the family well. I think that's also something else to consider. Because there are people, business influencers, stuff like that, people who stop doing some businesses because it's not their sweet spot. I just want you to understand that some of those people, especially those people in the West, are in a different position that we are. There's this podcast I listened to, My First Million, and they're big boys, in quotes, as we would say in the Nigerian context. They're big boys So they have several businesses, each doing millions or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and one of them dropped one of the businesses precisely because of that. So sometimes it does several hundred thousands, sometimes it crosses a billion, but he didn't think it was worth his time, and so he dropped and he's looking for something else, in his sweet spot. So I'm just trying to say that he's in a different position. He has a couple of things going, so he can afford to say, you know what, this thing is making money, but it's not my sweet spot. Let me just let me move on to something else. You might not be in that situation. So in fact, if you are in that situation, you're doing something right now, it's bringing in tens of thousands, several hundreds of thousands, or whatever. It's some sort of income, but it's not quite your sweet spot. If you don't have any viable alternatives, then in my own opinion, please just hang on to that thing until you do have some alternatives, and then you can play fancy. Like Richard Branson, they will say, oh, this thing is working, it's producing millions of pounds and blah, 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 but it's not meeting this metric, so we're going to divest and we're going to hand over and then stuff like that. So, let's relax. Eventually, we're going to get to the Branson big boy stage, or the big girl stage, like Mo Abudu. I think she used to be into hotels. I think she owned... Well, anyway, this is just gist. I don't know for sure. I heard that she owned Protea Hotels at some point, but, of course, left that and moved to something else. So eventually, you're going to be like a big girl. You're going to be like Mo Abudu, and you're going to say, oh, this hotel thing is not making the kind of money I want. Let me get rid of it. Let me move into something else. So we'll get to that stage. But for now, don't get too wet to the whole sweet spot thing. So back to helping you find your sweet spot in case you are looking for your sweet spot in business. Number one, I like to start off with, have you been able to find profitable customer segments? So if this is a viable business idea, there are people that are willing to pay for the idea, for the product, for the service. You found a profitable customer segment. For me, I think that's the beginning of a sweet spot. Because if it's not a profitable segment, then why are you there? Why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting money? It's not like you're running a charity. If you're running a charity, then of course we're talking about other kinds of considerations, so which we're not looking at in this podcast. But first and foremost, have you found a profitable customer segment, a profitable market niche, a profitable, you get the point. Can you spend X to do something and then you get back, X times 3 or X times 10 or X plus 5 or X plus whatever? You get the whole point. Then next, I'd say ease of doing business, because especially from my experience as a wedding photographer, I've realized that there are some situations where you go in and maybe you make 500K worth of profit. But to get that 500K worth of profit, you feel like you sold your soul and you mortgaged your son and you, what else? You just feel like you gave the whole world. And then there's situations where you do, some quick runs here and there, and the only money you make out of it is maybe 80K or 120K. But that 120K seemed easy, it seemed fulfilling, it seemed to give you life. So I'm one of those people who says, take both. That 500K that is has plenty of hassles with it, take it if you can, if the hassle is not too bad. But I must admit, that 80K, that 120K that comes with ease of mind and whatever, is a lot easier to sustain your mojo on that kind of money. So and thankfully, none of us are in that situation where you definitely have to choose between 500K, 1 million with plenty of stress, or 80K, 120K that comes nice and easy. But if you had to choose, I would say look for that 80K, 120K. It's smaller, but it's a lot easier. It comes with a whole more joy. It will be easier to say, you know what, this 80K that I'm collecting, let me see how many of these 80Ks I can put through the system. So that's my own take. So profitable segment, yes. And then we also have to look at ease of doing business, because some customers are an absolute nightmare to deal with. So if it's a profitable segment and you enjoy working with those kind of customers, then in fact, I'd say key in. There's ease of business there. These people are easy to work with. Try and see how many referrals, recommendations that you can get from them. Try and parlay it into other... try and maximize the lifetime customer value. You get the whole point. Let's try and see how much value we can extract from that situation. So, for profitable segments, 1, ease of doing business, number 2. Then, number 3, do you have a well-honed sales process or selling framework around it? you're not going to be selling forever. At some point, you're going to have to delegate to your younger brother, younger sister, sales boy, sales girl, business partner, associate, whatever. At some point, you're going to have to build a team around you. So is it something that you can create a selling framework that is that doesn't have to revolve around you? If it's something that you can do that, then I think that that's also a sweet spot, because if it's a profitable segment and there's ease of doing business, but it's only something that you are uniquely suited to do. Let's say, okay, back to the wedding photographer thing. Let's say it's a particular wedding style, wedding photography style that is hard to teach other people, or it's unpopular, so other people don't want to do. Then essentially, it has to be you handling the sales calls. Okay, no, that one doesn't apply, because you can actually be the person shooting, but then you can get somebody else to do the selling. Okay, that's not a good example, but the point I was just trying to make was that if there's a situation where it's profitable, there's ease of doing business, but you have to be totally wedded to that thing 24/7, then you can't really call yourself a business owner per se. You're just self-employed. Essentially, you just have a high-paying job. The thing is just that your customer is the boss and you are the employee. But then again, it depends on what it is you're trying to do. If you're trying to build a business, then this whole thing of selling frameworks and processes, marketing processes, things like that, absolutely important. If you want to build a lifestyle business or a passion business or whatever people call it, like you don't mind that you're self-employed, then hey, it's not a problem. Then scratch this criteria that I just mentioned. Then let's see, where was I? Okay, so profitable segments, ease of doing business, sales framework or sales processes. Okay, yes, I had the final one. So passion, purpose, societal impact, all those sorts of things. So does it, what's the word? Does it juice you up? Does it make you happy? Is this something you're passionate at? Does it meet your skill set? Does it meet your natural effort? How else? And I'm sure you guys get the gist of what it is I'm trying to say. So if you're able to find that you're involved in the business and it's a profitable segment, there's market demand, there's the ease of doing business there, the sales process is, you've set it up as something that can be easy to delegate. Let's see what else. And then it's something that gives the kind of emotional impact or societal impact or religious impact or whatever impact that you're trying to look for. Then I would say that it's a sweet spot. But here's the thing. Either way, whether you are in the yes camp or in the no camp, people who say yes, there's a sweet spot, I'm looking for it. Or people who say no, there's no sweet spot. In fact, I don't care if there's a sweet spot. Just give me something that gives me cold, hard cash. So whether you're in the yes camp or you're in the no camp, unfortunately, you're going to have to take some idea. You're going to have to run it. You're going to have to execute it first. It is only in the process of running and executing that you're going to be able to figure out that, you know what, I thought I was a passion person, but I can't be bothered about passion. I just need cold, hard cash. This one is bringing in 200K every month. This one is bringing in 1.6 every month. You know what? I will get rid of that 200K per month one, and I'll stick to this one that's giving me 1.5 because I'm all about the cold, hard cash. It's only when you run it that you will know. And vice versa. You might be on that 1.5 thing, but you think, man, this thing is so less. I was happier when I was only making 400K, or when I was making only 200K per month. And then you go back to that 200K thing, but you have to run it first. So people who are asking this question, is there such a thing as a sweet spot? How do you identify your sweet spot? And you're asking this question, but you haven't started anything. You're just wasting your time. So yeah, you've listened to the podcast, but if you haven't started, go ahead and start. That's where you're going to, the only way that you know for sure where you fall, whether you're in the yes camp or you're in the no camp. So that's all for today, folks. Please connect with me on WhatsApp and LinkedIn so that we can have a chat. The phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are hitting me up outside the shores of Nigeria. Again, the number is 080-6466-2140. And if you're looking for me on LinkedIn or other socials, my name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. Don't worry about the spelling of my name. You'll find it from the link where you're currently listening to this podcast episode. So you'll find my name there and my email address there. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.